Hello, everyone. Welcome to our news and notes. Of course, we do this every Tuesday, and I know a lot of you like to get caught up on what's going on. Of course, you see what's going on with the transactions list on the Fed webpage, but we try to talk about some of the bigger things going on. So let's get right into it. All right. So this is the 15th of July. All right. Which is very important. We'll mention why in just a minute. Well, not really today, but okay. Yeah, bear with me. I had a rough day today. Okay, so first thing, we have a change at the microphone in Carolina. Brandon Riley, of course, has been the play-by-play man for the last 2 years. He has left the team. I don't know what is on his agenda, what is in his future, but we'll keep a watch and see where he surfaces, and we'll let you know when that time comes. In the meantime, for you Thunderbird fans, your new play-by-play voice is Kendall Grayson. Comes in with quite a lot of experience compared to some of the other people who are serving in the role of the play-by-play announcer for various teams. Grayson has been calling games in the USHL, which of course is Tier 1 juniors, for the last 7 years with the Tri-Cities Storm. If you don't know where that is, they're located in Nebraska, north and west of Topeka. But anyway, yeah, he's been there for 7 years, and he's coming in to be the new guy behind the microphone in Carolina. So I'm glad that vacancy did not last very long. Anyway, that's the big change there. Now, I mentioned the date today, which may or may not be important, but next Tuesday will be very important for your Prowler fans. That will be the press conference that they posted, and I know a lot of people went, rumors? Why are we talking about rumors? Things get around, whether they are true or not. Things spread, and Port Huron wants to make an official statement as far as the status of things right now. Now, some of the things they may be discussing are addressing some questions about ownership. Now, Barry Soskin is no longer there. He is no longer a part of the Fed. We've mentioned that in the past. Right now, the league owns the Port Huron Prowlers, but there have been ownership groups or potential ownership groups that have approached the league and said, hey, we might be interested in buying the Prowlers. And whenever you hear that, you immediately think, oh no, are they going to end up moving, or what's going to happen? Some of that will be cleared up, I would imagine. They could be talking about some of the player signings that have happened, and maybe some that haven't been announced yet. The Prowlers have a large group of their core returning, so they're going to be a tough team to play this next year. It was hinted a while ago that Matt Graham may be making some kind of an announcement himself in regards to him. So we will see if that takes place. I do not know if that is part of this press conference next Tuesday, but it's a possibility. Mainly, though, they'll be addressing some of the rumors that have been going around about the team status and just clarifying that and saying, okay, here are the facts. There you go. So again, 11 o'clock next Tuesday. So make sure to tune in for that. All right. Some questions came through because of a post that the Watertown Wolves put out there mentioning 3-year contracts, and a lot of people said, "Wait, what? I thought contracts in the Fed were just year to year. They used to be. All right, the last 2 seasons now, actually, the player contracts are for 3 years. So I'm just using an example here because okay, he signed, but even if he didn't, okay, Reggie Millette. All right, last year was his first year with the Prowlers. All right. He is the property of the Prowlers for 3 years. Now, the player contracts, the actual player agreements, go from year to year. But as far as your status with a team, that is held for 3 years, with the exception being if you get traded or outright released, something like that. All right, Millette, if for some reason he decided, you know what, I'm not going to play this next year, and no, I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just using this as a hypothetical example here. All right, if Millette said, I know I signed, but I'm not going to come back this next year. Well, his property, his rights are still held by Port Huron unless they chose to trade those rights or to just outright release him. And that's usually what happens. Now, I don't think that these 3-year contracts really are a good idea. I really don't. But I understand why the league would like to be able to hold on to players, at least their rights. Now, I'll use Millette again as, again, a hypothetical situation. Let's say we get to September and he is offered a tryout with the Rapid City Rush of the ECHL. I'm just making up a scenario here. Okay, he could do that, and then he would go to inactive status with the Port Huron Prowlers. And then, if he stayed up there, well, his rights are still held by the Prowlers, unless the Prowlers, again, just said, okay, we're releasing you. But right now, 3 years are the term of someone being, their rights being held by a team in the FPHL. Now, speaking of which, player status. Let's talk about Blue Ridge Bobcats because some people had some questions, and I want to clarify this. All right, people said, "Wait a minute, why are all these players being listed as inactive? We're not even playing. We're not even to camp yet." And Hunter Godmere and let's see, Devin Sanders and Damon Furseth and Justin Daly and Dennis Redchenko, they're all marked as inactive. Why? Well, that's because they have signed PTOs with SPHL teams or ECHL teams. I believe they're all SPHL, but at this point. So, again, the rights are held by Blue Ridge, but they're going to be in camp with whatever team. Devin Sanders, it was announced he is signed with the Quad City Storm of the SP. So, that's where he's going to be until such a time as he would be, if he got released, and there's no guarantee that he wouldn't. Maybe he's going to play the entire year with Quad City. It's possible. But Blue Ridge still holds his rights, and marking him inactive, they know, okay, he's going to be in the SP, at least to begin the season, and that frees up a roster spot for us. So when we get to camp, we can plan our roster And there you go. And the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season are going to be very chaotic. And there's going to be a lot of transactions, a lot of movement, because the SPHL starts a week later than the Fed this year. So for a team that's playing on the 10th and the 11th, for example, PD, they're playing that first weekend. Okay, they've got to make sure they have a full roster. And, if they have players that are going to be up in the SP, well, the SP doesn't start until the 17th of October. So, could be a lot of back and forth. It's going to be a ton of transactions. So that's why you're seeing all these players being marked as inactive. It seems that Blue Ridge, more than anybody else, is encouraging their players to seek opportunities in the higher leagues. And so that's why they have such an extensive list of inactive players. I believe it is 8 players now that they have on their inactive list. So, and, I don't blame the players. Good on them. They want to advance their careers as far as they can go. So, let's give them that opportunity. All right, let's talk about some trades. There were a couple trades. First of all, Topeka made a trade with the Zydeco, and Ross Bartlett went from Topeka because, of course, he was picked up in the expansion draft. He was traded back to Baton Rouge, along with 2 players to be named later. That's what the acronym is there. Players to be named later. So 3 players are going to the Zydeco in exchange for Elijah Wilson, who was the leading scorer for the Zydeco this last year. He was in the top 10 in scoring, I believe, for the year. So there was that trade, and then also the Zydeco sent Elias Thompson to Athens for future considerations. The all familiar, infamous future considerations. So that's what you got right now. We'll see how things end up being listed in the end. And lastly, we want to talk about some player signings. These are just highlighting some of the players that were signed. Monroe, they got pretty busy this last weekend, and they announced Sean Kuhn is coming back in goal. They announced the return of Caden Henry, who came over late in the year, started the year in Binghamton, then went to Monroe. And then Samuel House Gustafson, Samuel Howe Gustafson. He is returning to Monroe. So, and also the Moe brothers are back. So, both Hagen and Rex are coming back to Monroe. All right. For the Biloxi Breakers, they signed a goaltender, a rookie goaltender, Bennett Peters, I believe it's pronounced Peters, just spelled differently. If that's not the case, somebody can correct me. But anyway, Peters is going to be vying for the backup job, presumably to Eloi Bouchard, for this upcoming year in camp. Now, for the Port Huron Prowlers, we mentioned them before. Reggie Millette coming back. He was a big offensive piece to the team last year. The team started off a little slow, and not ironically, their offense really got a big boost starting with the time that Millette came down from the SP, joined the Prowlers. He's a very important part of their team. For the PD Ice Cats, defenseman Mark Poser has resigned. He, of course, played with the HC Venom last year, and I believe he ended up being the team captain at the end of the year. I know he was one of the assistant captains for the team. But yeah, he's a stay-at-home guy, very much somebody that's going to be heavily relied on for PD. And then the Carolina Thunderbirds signed goaltender Chad Purdy, another rookie. He will be competing for the job in camp there. So those are some of the more notable signings that happened over the last 4 days. And I'm sure we're going to have many more coming this upcoming week. We'll do our best to keep up to date for you on Facebook. Make sure you're following me on Facebook as well as here on YouTube. If you aren't subscribed already to the YouTube page, please do so. Hit the notification bell, blah, 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 blah. You've heard the whole spiels from other people as well. Also, make sure to check out the Flash Audio Network. Every Thursday, we've got updates on there, and the links are on the Facebook page. And that is it for today. All right, so we'll talk to you next time, Thursday, on the Flash Audio Network, and then we'll have a couple more videos this upcoming Saturday. Let's see what I've got. Let me go back to my my schedule. Okay, well, Saturday we're going to be talking about what are the keys to success for the Indiana Sentinels this upcoming year. All right, and then on Sunday, on our historical look at things Fed related, we're going to be talking about the 2021-22 season. It was the year after the COVID / Ignite Cup, and kind of the first year back for the Fed, all the way back. We'll talk about why it was such an important year, why it was such a pivotal year for the league, and the path of success that we've had starting from there to now. So make sure to join me for those videos. All right, I am Gary Ryan. I will let you go to enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Have yourselves a great week, and we will catch you again very soon. Thank you so much for joining in.